Rise and Shine Rwanda, it's Tuesday the 9th of June.
Coming up on today's Rise and Shine Rwanda.
As Africa aspires for socio-economic development, universities are hard at work building centers of excellence.
We learn about the pay TV business that's now a big hit in the country.
And a new book sure to motivate anyone feeling like they need a little inspiration. Good morning, it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning and you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Regis Isheja.
And me, Makeda Mahario. Over the next hour, we'll be bringing you all the latest news, sports, and business headlines from here in Rwanda and around the world. And of course, the Rise and Shine team are back together and of course here in studio with us. We missed you yesterday.
You know, Arnold and Fifi are kind of matching here.
Yeah, they missed each other, yeah.
I know. There's a theme happening. Yeah, you didn't even let us in the know.
Nah, it's not
Tell
part of
me.
the good crowd.
Okay, that's enough fashion. Tell me what's happening in the world of sports.
In sports, we look at the Women's World Cup that's currently taking place in Canada. We look at today's matches and, of course, the Formula One results from the weekend and the Volleyball Genocide Memorial Tournament.
A lot of Canada going on. I mean, the Women's World Cup, the Formula One was in Canada.
Was in Canada, yeah. And there will be some tennis in Canada, ATP Masters.
Absolutely, it's coming up. Yes.
Okay, what about in the world of business, Fidelis?
Well, in business, we visit a new pay TV station that just started in Rwanda to find out, what do they have that's different from what we ordinarily have? And, what's going to be the solution to the crazy subscription fees that everyone's complaining about?
Yes, more people watching TV, that's what we need. Okay, well, all that and more is still to come, but first, Rise and Shine, story of the day.
The 18th Biennial Conference of the Association of Africa Universities took place in Kigali recently with an emphasis put on centers of excellence and the good they will do for the continent. With academicians, policymakers, and partners in education all in attendance, it was the right place to discuss the future of Africa's education and the challenges universities have been encountering. Take a look.
Showed you from the business school, from the social sciences, we bring all on board. We have all our students are taught to participate through rural appraisal and by agri-extension people. And so we bring in all the disciplines in our plant breeding training program.
African universities were asked to adapt higher education systems to the continent's aspirations for socio-economic development, with a special focus put on centers of excellence and how to fund them.
Is very critical because it, as you could hear, it covers a lot of different efforts in different corners of Africa, that all of which claim to be working towards development for Africa. And the manner in which these centers are established right now may not necessarily be very clear, but at an African Union Commission level, the Commission has been very clear on the intention of making sure Africa has strong centers of excellence. I think what is really critical here is that we shall be discussing in the working groups today is how best can we first encourage those centers to be available here in Africa in a sustainable manner, and two, we should avoid duplicating our efforts. As you could hear from the presentation, there are different centers. Each of the centers call themselves different names depending on the sources of funding, but we must look beyond the donor funds.
Academicians, policymakers, partners in education, they all took turns explaining what their visions were and what could help the continent's centers of excellence.
Your concern about the name worries me. You're saying that they're not centers of excellence yet, so we should maybe call them centers of specialization. In social sciences, there's what we call labeling and the power of the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Interestingly, each one of us took an initiative. Our investors played a role, governments similarly, and the donor community. And therefore, it should be a partnership in totality to move on. And therefore, we cannot accuse a donor that they're doing that. No, is a partnership. And what is it in a partnership unless each one of us contributes?
The continent has been developing in the last years, and it has put a lot of efforts on teaching. But I think the solution of the problems of Africa is not only in teaching, but mainly in research. In that sense, I think that if we start or we promote the centers of excellence, we will give a response to many problems we are facing at the moment.
Let's find ways of sustaining these centers, but we also must avoid duplication of efforts. So the discussion here is very important, and I hope in the group work we'll be able to assist to guide these centers which are all working for the development of Africa.
With Africa being on the rise, all roads still go through education, with universities being front and center in the process. Regisi Sheja, Rise and Shine Rwanda. And joining us in studio now is Dr. Abdullah Mugumi, AG Director of Academic Quality at the Ministry of Education. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, when you were there at the conference and you heard about centers of excellence and what they could mean for the socio-economic development of our continent, what kind of attention did it bring to you?
Yeah, thank you very much. That one is central to us. First of all, in line with the theme of the conference, which was internationalization of higher education. Now, the main idea around the centers of excellence, it is first of all, within the global trend, it's better you work together. You put together the meager resources. And one way to do that is through centers of excellence. And therefore, the main purpose is to have a specialization located at different institutions, at a different regional level or sub-regional level. And one main outcome of that is to avoid duplication of resources, because, and even you may duplicate, yet even not actually excelling. But through centers of excellence, like for instance Rwanda, the University of Rwanda is a center of excellence in several areas, like the ICT, GIS, and also the health procurement and supply management. So that means that such centers are enhanced or are being supported, but also in also other regions of the continent.
Now, when it comes to the funding part, as you heard the discussions, I mean, it was very animated. Everybody had a different point of view. There's those that say, well, we understand that we have to have, aid from outside, but others are saying, no, we can find the means among ourselves and make sure these centers of excellence really, truly represent African values. What do you think of that? How do you think the money can be, brought to Africa, develop Africa, but brought mostly from Africans?
Yes, I think the whole issue of saying that we should have our own money to support the centers is just around one challenge.
Right.
While we are all in for internationalization, but we have to balance. You should not be out of your context. So for such a center, the issue is, in the first instance, they should be responding to the local needs. And then second, also, they should be suitable within the international trend. Therefore, when they talk of funding, is that maybe at times this funding may come with some type of a prescribed, maybe we think these centers, they should focus on A, B, C, D.
Right.
And now the discussion is that, yes, this is good, but also we need that component of ensuring that these centers really respond to the contextual needs. So that's the whole issue of saying that, well, like for instance, there was phase 1, which covered the part of West Africa and Central Africa, of the African centers of excellence. Now the second phase will focus on East and Southern Africa. So all these ones, they focus on certain areas. Now the issue, and exactly which was in line with the theme of the conference,
yes,
is that we have to balance localization, but also internationalization, lest we miss.
Which is, I'm going to piggyback on that because it's very important to localize what we're talking about here. When you talk about Rwanda, before we even talk about Africa, I mean, to anyone who sees another conference taking place in Rwanda, which is something that has been going on for a while, they'll say, well, it's a great place to have these conferences, but it's mostly because the education system here has gotten so good that, you know, we're getting credit from outside. But how are we having these centers of excellence here? I mean, which ones are they if we were to talk about, you know, what we have here to our neighbors and then to everybody else internationally? What are our centers of excellence here in Kigali?
Yes, thank you. As you followed, maybe through the conference, one, the Honorable Minister of Education delivered a keynote presentation.
Right.
And it was on how we are internationalizing higher education in Rwanda within the three main pillars: access, equality, but also relevance. So everything you do in Rwanda, the starting point is it should be responding to the country's needs. Now, within the country's needs, if you don't have the internationalization,
the context.
Yes, context.
Right.
Yes, to us, when you talk of responding to the contextual needs, already internationalization is part of the contextual needs. And therefore, that's why, for instance, we have the CMU Rwanda, the Carnegie Mellon University Rwanda.
Right.
It's here because the whole purpose of this is, for years, this theme is not new. Since colonial and then post-colonial, we have been in touch with international trends, but we have been at a disadvantaged position.
When you look at Carnegie Mellon and you look at what they've been able to accomplish, I mean, usually it was you finish high school, you do maybe your first cycle of university, then you go abroad to actually continue your studies. Now, when you get to your master's degree and you want to pursue that, can you do it here with an international way of looking at the whole thing? Because the scope is to make sure that it's not just limited to Rwanda, or do you still have to go, you know, abroad to finish it?
Exactly, that one responds to our main, to our main focus, whereby when we refer to national needs, already we have embedded in the international aspect.
Right.
And when we have the international institutions, or maybe the institutions from outside Rwanda, where for many years we have been going outside to study from there. But if we have them now in Rwanda, then actually you are trying to balance what we said earlier, localization, but also within the international trend. Therefore, you can imagine when they learn here, of course, the curricula is that one based on the US standards.
Right.
But again, their training, if they are industrial attachments, it's just within the contextual needs.
Absolutely.
And that's what everyone is trying to achieve, because one, for so many reasons, we have not been able to attract many students from Europe to come here, yet for us, we are there queuing for visas to go to study there. So when we have these institutions, then we are actually trying to correct what we have not been able to do for so many years.
Dr. Abdullah Mugumi, we could talk about this for 30 more minutes. Obviously, we'll have you back on the show. We appreciate a lot everything you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. We'll be right back after the break.
Here is to traveling and saving. Starting 1st of April to the 1st of June, travel with Rwanda and take advantage of our reduced fares and enjoy our world-class services in great comfort and safety.
Fly our dream to the heart of Africa.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Business News Now. Fidelis Karangwa has the details.
Business stories making headlines today. The East African Business Council has signed an agreement with the East African Manufacturers Business Membership Organization in a deal that is expected to strengthen efforts aimed at solving challenges facing industrialists in the region. Officials said the partnership will help drive the regional industrialization agenda, ensuring that the EAC industrialization strategy and policy are properly developed and implemented. The two-year deal will also boost the potential of the sector and provide a platform through which stakeholders can address challenges affecting producers collectively. and beef shortages in the country could soon be resolved after the process project on 4,500 hectares of land takes off in the eastern province in Gako in Bugesera district. The project is expected to increase beef production and improve the livestock value chain in general by integrating food production, cattle and goat rearing on a sustainable commercial basis. The project is set to start as soon as the government reaches an agreement with various foreign and local private investors who have expressed interest in the project. Now, Rwanda was the second country in sub-Saharan Africa to migrate from analog television transmission to digital broadcasting in June of last year. But with this change, many people now prefer using pay TV services to access some of their favorite channels. And how has this affected pay TV business in Rwanda, you may wonder? Well, I went to find out. Until recently, Rwanda had only one free-to-air television station, our very own Rwanda Television. But slowly over the years, we have seen more stations being introduced into the market, giving the viewers more options on what to watch. With this has risen a promising business opportunity that this company had to come into the country to explore.
Amelia Rwanda is a pay TV company that has just recently started in Rwanda. It's been operating in the region, starting from Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, and now in Rwanda, and still growing to other sub-Saharan countries in Africa. And what is bringing in Africa is the pay TV services. We're offering decoder and channels to the Rwandan, and we believe Rwandans have been waiting for this for so long because we're bringing what Rwandans have been asking for.
Despite the growth in pay TV options, competition in this market is still very stiff, as people still find the subscription fees very high, causing fear that soon this business might start to experience losses. Dagano, however, says that in order to maintain a steady clientele, they have taken it upon themselves to solve some of the problems that we have been experiencing with our pay TV providers.
One of the big challenges Rwandans used to have was about the signal. That is the first thing we looked at. As you will understand, Azam TV is a direct-to-home signal. We are bringing a signal from the satellite to the Rwandan homes. So this is something we are quite sure of because we did some actually tests before to see how strong our signal was, and we are sure that whoever you are in Rwanda and sub-Saharan countries, you can get our signal, and a very strong signal. At least we're sure about that. And another thing is about the content now, because the signal is not all enough. Now how about the content? What are we bringing to the Rwandans? So we understand Rwandans have got different, there are people who are speaking English, those who speak French, Swahili and other languages. So we wanted to give someone something that will answer to all these questions. That's why the content we're bringing, the channels that we have, over 140 channels, we've got more than 60 channels, French channels, and others are English channels. So whatever you want to watch, you've got the choice. This is what we're bringing to Rwandans. And actually, maybe to add on that, it's not only about that, but also the device we're bringing, the decoder we're bringing. This is a high-definition decoder with an HDMI port and a USB port that you can record, your programs as you wish.
With the switch to digital media, it is hoped that more local TV stations will set up shop, boosting this industry as well as increasing competition in this market. Good news for TV lovers like myself, who will now have more options to choose from on what to watch. Kangwa Fidelis, Rise and Shine Rwanda. Now, I also hit the streets to find out what do the people really think of pay TV services in the country. Take a look.
Mbona ari byiza ko pay TV yaje mu Rwanda, ariko ibiciro biracyari hejuru, ntabwo buri muntu ntabwo ari bose babasha kwishyura monthly nyine kuri ababyishyuza. So mbona byiza bagabanya ibiciro kugira ngo twese tubashe kwishyura.
Njyewe ko mbyumva dukurikije n'ibintu batugezaho mbona ntacyo bitwaye, ariko nyine wenda biterwa n'uko umuntu aba yifite, wenda baba bumva biri hayi, abandi bakumva ari ibyo.
Mu by'ukuri nk'aka dukora mu bintu bya siporo dukenera na DSTV kubera imikino itandukanye no kumenya ko mu bihugu byateye imbere kuturusha mu mikino aho bigeze, ariko mu by'ukuri tubona DSTV igiciro cyayo kiracyari hejuru ugereranyije n'ubushobozi bw'umunyarwanda.
Vizuri kupunguza kidogo, naona maisha ya watu sio siku hizi, maisha ya watu sio nzuri. Kama mnapunguza kidogo, wateja wanakuwa, lazima pale kazi itakuwa vizuri, wateja wengi watafurahi na watu nao watafurahi kuona umetia bei kiasi.
And joining us now in studio is Farajan Dangano, the Operations Manager of Azam Media Rwanda. Welcome to the show, Dangano.
Thank you.
Now, like we just saw, the first thing that everyone thinks of when they think of pay TV is very high prices. What's going on with that, and what's the reason for that? And you know, because we've seen in the past, most of them start and their prices are not that bad, but as soon as they've been on the market for 3 months or 4 months, they suddenly have to charge a lot more than they were doing before. What's the reason for that?
Sure. Maybe I may not speak for others, but at least let me speak for Azam TV, because one show we can say is we won't actually increase the price after 1 or 2 months or 3 months. At least we're sure about that. And one challenge that we're all facing, all the companies in the pay TV right now, is because people are normally used to free, free channels. And these free channels, mostly they've been these free-to-air channels, so they didn't have a reason to charge people, because even themselves being on air, it was free. But right now, people looking for content of quality, we have to get channels of quality. And getting these channels, you have to pay money. So this is business at the end of the day. So to get back whatever you have invested, you have to charge. But then what Azam TV is bringing is charging, yes, but then charging something that is reasonable. Something that is affordable, let me say it. So we understand the level of Rwandans, most viewers we are having right now, Rwandans in Rwanda, and we know how much, in general, people are earning. So we know how much people can spend in these pay TV. So for someone who is looking at something of quality, definitely has to spend something. But then you're trying to give him something affordable at a price that is reasonable.
Now the other thing that everyone talks about pay TV is when it rains, you suddenly can't get all your channels. When, I don't know, it's too hot or it's windy, you can't get all your channels. So you said something about how you've tried to fix it, but just explain to someone who doesn't understand the technical terms, how is this going to be different from what they already have on the market?
I won't be much technical, but I'll try to explain this. The signal Azam TV is bringing is what we call DTH. This is direct to home. It means you get a signal that is coming direct from the satellite. It comes to your dish at home and goes direct to your decoder and to your screen. So this has got very few interferences that can be there. Unlike other signals that we normally call DTT, these will be like going through different antennas. So this can have many challenges. Let's say trees or top high buildings, or anything can be actually an interface. But then when you get something direct from the satellite, what you need is just to have a direct look at the sky. And I believe whoever is in this world has got a direct look at the sky. So once you have this, you have the signal direct to your home. Definitely, I won't say it's 100%, free interference signal. When there is a heavy rain, you might face this, but definitely it will be maybe for 1 or 2 minutes, and then you'll get back to your signal.
Now you guys are the ones who've entered this market of recent. But what has it been like for you entering the market? The whole procedure from having to register, are the laws here flexible to people wanting to start a TV station? Just tell us a bit about your experience starting out in Rwanda.
Sure, I'll say it's been a very good experience. When it comes to the laws and the government process, for sure this is something that is very flexible, because we just applied, let's say starting from RDB, this was a 6 hours process. We applied and got our license from RDB, but then since it's a media kind of thing, we had to go through Aurora, of which all what they ask for, once you get them, for sure it doesn't take that much. So definitely we are happy about this, and we can congratulate actually the government for what it's doing. And about the market, we did as well, a market study before coming in to this market, and we understood where Rwandans and what Rwandans wanted, and that is what we brought.
And what do you think of your competitors already on the market right now? What do you think that that you guys think that you have that's probably going to be better, so that if someone was maybe working with another pay TV provider, they may even turn and come to you? What's the difference? What's the competition
Yes,
like?
the difference is, one is the time we've come in the market is the time the country, and of course other countries, is migrating from analog system to digital system. So definitely we are bringing in the digital signal, which is now actually everyone is looking for, and this is the very time people are migrating from analog to digital. So that is the first thing. That's why we came in with a decoder that is a high definition decoder, and this is a decoder that anyone can use to get the high definition channels that we are now migrating to. So that's one. And two is we also came in with something that has not been there before, because we understand Rwanda, unlike other countries, mostly neighboring countries, Rwandans have got, let's say, two major parts of people, those speaking English and those speaking French, those looking for English content and those looking for French content. So this is something, again, we brought in. I'll tell you that Azam TV is now operating, let's say, starting from Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, Malawi, and other countries. But it's only in Rwanda that Azam TV has introduced two bouquets, English bouquet and French bouquet, because you understood the market of Rwanda needs these two languages.
Yes.
So that's why now we are bringing this. And not only that, the decoder again we brought, because you'll understand most of the decoders you have around, just a decoder, you get your channels and that's it.
Yes.
But then not only we are bringing high definition decoder with an HDMI port, but also give people option of recording whatever they're watching. So it has got a USB port where you can plug in your external hard disk or USB.
So you basically want to make your favorites show anywhere.
Definitely you want.
Nice.
So you've got someone coming in when you are maybe busy watching something, you can still attend to your either customer or visitor and then record whatever is going on and watch it at any time you want.
Nice. Thank you very much for that insight, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Well, you're up to date today's business headlines. Sports news coming up next in just a minute. We'll please say that.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Time now for your sports news. I'm Arnold Kwizera. Starting with volleyball, Rayon Sports Men's Volleyball Club and Rwandan Revenue Authority Women's Volleyball teams were crowned champions of the concluded Genocide Memorial Tournament at the Amahoro Indoor Stadium. Having dispelled arch-rivals Inotech in the semi-finals, the Blues successfully defended their title, coming from a set down to win 3-2 against Army side APR Volleyball Club. APR won the first set 25-18 before losing the second one by a similar margin. Rayon Sport won the decisive fifth set 15-11 to seal the title. It was win number 4 in Canada for Lewis Hamilton as the Mercedes driver bounced back from a disappointing Monaco Grand Prix to extend his lead in this year's Formula One Championship. Leading from pole, the world champion held off Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg to move 17 points ahead of the German. Sebastian Vettel managed 5th place behind teammate Kimi Raikkonen, whose error allowed countrymate Valtteri Bottas to leapfrog him into 3rd spot. And finally, in the Women's World Cup, Groups F and E take center stage in today's action of the Women's World Cup with some of the tournament's favorites in action. European powerhouses England and France meet in the day's first clash, with either side seeking to put one leg in the next round with a win. Colombia and Mexico will also battle it out in Group F's all-Hispanic battle, while Group E will also see a Mata-led Brazil take on Korea Republic, while inconsistent Spain take on Costa Rica.
Just 1 year after the Men's World Cup, we have the Women's World Cup. Realistically speaking, when you look at France, Italy, Brazil, and the likes, which team do you feel like has the more chances of winning it this year?
I think among all those teams playing today, there are some dark horses you would look at. But Spain, they finished 3rd at the European Championships last year. You would feel they have a chance, but this is their debut World Cup. But then they have a star player in Vasquez Busquets, that lady who plays at half-9. She is a fabulous playmaker, I think the best playmaker in the world at the moment. But when you look at Brazil again, they are the Netherlands of women's football. They are always knocking at the door, disappointing. But they have Mata, the world's best player for 5 consecutive years. You will feel this is going to be her last World Cup. She's age 29, and time is against her, so she needs to set a mark. This is a group which you feel it could go either way, with a few errors and maybe a few key matchups here and there at this Women's World Cup. Speaking
of something that could go either way, when you talk about the world F1 competition, when you look at Lewis Hamilton and then you look at Nico Rosberg and you see what they've been able to accomplish, then you look at what took place in Montreal on Sunday. I mean, what you feel like when it comes to the World Championship? I think Formula One is getting boring. Lewis Hamilton every day is winning it, and this comes from, I think, the difference in the car engines. Right. When you look, the Mercedes cars are way ahead. You feel the Ferraris could have pushed them, especially Sebastian Vettel. But Vettel in the qualifiers, he had those errors that forced him to start from 18th position as a punishment. Which is hard to recover from. Yeah, which is hard to recover from. And he came to finish number 5. Now, Kimi Raikkonen, who finished number 3,
number 3 in the qualifiers, comes into finish number 4 because of a stupid mistake against Vateri in the spin-off. That was at the lap 42. He made a stupid error. He had to pit. Coming from pit, his Finn countrymate, Valtteri Bottas from Williams, had leapfrogged him into 3rd position. Now, you feel if Vettel had started at 3rd, Vettel could have tried to push the Max with his skill. His engine, the Ferrari engine, is not yet as good as the Mercedes engine, but hopefully in the next races, that's in USA and maybe Brazil, you'd feel they should give the Mercedes drivers a run for their money.
Now, finally, the blue and whites are not doing great when it comes to football, but when it comes to volleyball, maybe a little different story, right?
Yeah, I think you can say with the Rayon Sport team, when you have a team that has Marshall, that has Adolphe Mutoni, that has Eric, these are very good volleyball players. But then APR in that game, they didn't have Iguma, the national team captain. He didn't show up for the game because he's coming back from injury. So Rayon Sport had the edge. They came from a very tiring semi-final and a very tiring quarter-final where they took on the Burundian champions. The semi-final, they took on Inatek, which has, of course, the Vincent Kasogos of this world. And you felt someone like Yves Mutabazi had a good game and a good tournament for Rayon Sport. So Rayon Sport up there, but I think we're going to have a very interesting National League playoffs championship with Rayon Sports, Inatek, and APR.
Speaking of playoff championships, I'm pretty sure we'll be talking NBA very soon, right?
NBA very soon.
All right, Arnold, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. We'll talk about the news in just a minute. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Let's take a look now at news-making headlines here in Rwanda and around the world.
The Foreign Affairs Minister, the Honorable Louise Mushikiwabo, announced that the government plans to source teachers from Zambia. This comes after the minister held talks with her Zambian counterpart, Harry Kalaba, who's in the country on a 4-day visit. She said the government is looking at teaching expertise in Tibet and the mining sector to develop advanced skills in areas of knowledge, legal, and technical capacity, which Zambia has broad experience in. In the same regard, Zambia also expressed interest in sourcing French teaching personnel from Rwanda.
The Workforce Development Authority has launched an information management system to provide the public with data such as schools offering technical and vocational education and training in the country. Officials said the system will be easily accessible to provide timely information on Tibet policies, strategies, and planning. MIS is said to have material support and geographic map to show school locations, its surface area, infrastructures, and the various facilities available. The project was developed by Rwandan IT engineers with the financial and technical support of GIZ and the Korean International Cooperation Agency.
Survivors of the 1994 Rwandan genocide under their umbrella association IWUKA have called on the French government to retry a released genocide fugitive suspected of participating in the 1994 genocide. The suspect, Charles Twadira, was released late last month, but this did not impress the Rwandan survivors of the genocide that claimed more than 1 million lives. Twadira, who was first indicted in March 2014 for genocide and crimes against humanity in Rwanda, was sentenced in 2009 to imprisonment by a Rwandan court for crimes against humanity and the genocide. The president of IWUKA, Jean-Pierre Dusingizemungu, said that the release of Twadira by the French court is total impunity in the face of Rwandans who lost their loved ones in the genocide.
And in international news, President of Ghana, John Mahama, declared 3 days of national mourning after an explosion and floods killed over 150 people in Accra. President Mahama, who visited the scene, called the death toll catastrophic and offered condolences to families of the victims. Authorities said more than 90 people who sought shelter from overnight flooding at the state-owned Goil station near a busy downtown intersection were killed, while dozens of others drowned in various parts of the city following 2 days of torrential rains.
Time now for a review of the headlines. Edmond Kagire joins us now to look through some of the front pages. Welcome back to the show, Edmond.
Thank you.
You've become very rare these days.
I, for some reason, I was not able to show up in the last few days.
Right.
But it's okay.
Reasons.
Okay, now let's get right to it. I mean, for so long, the Rwandan civil society and our leaders in the country have been calling to, Westerners countries and all these other countries in which those who committed the genocide in 1994 have, made their homes, basically. And they've been asking those countries to take measures to bring them back to Rwanda. Now, when you look at cases like Mbarushimana, you look at cases like Leon Mugesera, they haven't really advanced like we would have liked to. And these are, cases that have been going on for years now, showing that it's hard to try them here. I mean, what do you make of it, and how much can we advance on these cases, and is it good to bring them here, basically?
I've been following some of these cases that were sent back to Rwanda to be tried here. Even yesterday, Winyindi's case was in court, and Barushimana also was back in court yesterday. It's a serious dilemma for Rwanda as a country. On one hand, you've been asking government to send these fugitives here, but then on the other hand, you're frustrated because the trials cannot take off. They have reasons to delay the cases. Today they say, we don't want the lawyers we have, we want new lawyers. Then the government gets them new lawyers. Next thing you hear, we are not paid, or we want our payment because the government also pays for the legal services. Right. So it's quite a very tricky situation for Rwanda as a country. Probably they would have wished to see these cases. I think only one so far has been concluded, Bandora's, and the other 4 or 5 are stagnated. They are not taking off. Some are dramatic, like Mugesera's. So probably, you think it is a frustration on the side of government. They would wish to see these cases laid off and probably use them as precedent to encourage other countries to send more genocide suspects to face trial back home. So it's quite a tricky situation for Rwanda.
Right.
It's just something that we have to kind of just watch out for, I suppose.
Yeah, some say these guys are old, so they are buying time. Today they will come up with an excuse, tomorrow another excuse. So the cases are not taking off at all. It's quite frustrating probably for the judiciary here in Rwanda.
Right, right. Well, another headline that we actually talked about it on yesterday's show, just a bit, we just reported on it, the fact that during the Northern Corridor meeting, there have been some implementation authorities put in place where basically it's going to be someone's full-time job to implement these decisions that are being made by the members of the bloc, right? So it seems like, the bloc is kind of moving forward. All different countries are making their decisions. They're kind of developing in their way, but we don't hear where Burundi is in this situation. Burundi is still going through a crisis. So is it that everyone is kind of considering their own
Especially since Burundi has asked to be part of the Northern Corridor.
Yeah, I was watching some TV clips earlier yesterday, and I also saw in the papers yesterday our president posing for pictures in Kampala. In sharp contrast, back in Burundi, I think people are still, running after each other, running battles with police. The chaos is still there. There's a serious information vacuum. Serious information vacuum in Burundi. Now we don't get to hear a lot coming out of Burundi, but that's not to say that the situation has subsided.
It's
Probably
just the international press is not as present as it was.
Then on the other hand, we have presidents moving forward, planning for their countries, putting in place projects. It is for me, it is something that it's a wake-up call for all of us.
Is it alarming to you?
It is alarming if just your neighbor,
absolutely.
Next door is in chaos.
Especially
and
when
you're planning a party, probably
so many
sends the wrong
refugees
message.
all over the.
I'm not saying they should put on hold everything they've been planning for all these years, but probably they should lay off some of these. They should focus on the most urgent issue, which is stabilizing.
Before we move on to the next topic, Edmond, don't you think that the fact that there is a Northern Corridor and there is an East African community, which some of the countries, all of the countries that are in the Northern Corridor find themselves in the East African community, doesn't that mix the whole thing? Like, isn't it a bit too much, maybe?
Probably our countries have not been very decisive on Burundi. They have not taken strong positions on Burundi. Right. And it's not shocking that they have moved on to continue with their own stuff. So one wonders who is going to sort the mess in Burundi. Yesterday, actually, people were saying it's time for dialogue because the issue now is not elections. I think the different sides, the opposition and the government need to talk.
Right.
Probably would think our countries should be, our presidents
be
should
more
be
involved,
taking the lead.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Edmund. They're just telling me now we've run out of time, but thank you so much for coming. And please don't just leave us hanging like that again.
I'm around.
The day after.
We're looking out for you again.
I'll be coming.
All right, good. Okay, more still to come. Lifestyle is up next. Plus, we take a look at what's hot right now in our daily debate section. Hot topics. We'll be right back.
Here is to traveling and saving. Starting 1st of April to the 1st of June, travel with Rwanda and take advantage of our reduced fares and enjoy our world-class services in great comfort and safety.
Fly our dream to the heart of Africa.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda Lifestyle now. Makeda, what do you have for us?
I actually visited a book launch over the weekend, and it's something that's really inspirational for people who are looking for that thing that they need.
That thing? They're looking for that thing? Oh.
Yeah. Have you ever felt as though you could use a little inspiration? Maybe you feel like you're not exactly where you want to be in your professional life, or like others are surpassing you in achieving their goals. Well, author and HR expert Happy is here for a solution for you. Take a look. It was an evening filled with people from different walks of life mingling and sharing ideas over the newest addition to the world of motivational literature, Happy Umwagara's Drums of Success.
I'm a human resources strategist and a career coach, so I interact with a lot of people who have questions about their success and what they should do to achieve success. And I have realized most people do not even know that what it takes to achieve success is actually in themselves. They don't have to look outside to get it. I did research on psychometric tests. These are tests that we use in selection development of human resources. They help us understand the mental abilities and personality traits and motivation factors of people, and they predict performance, unlike these other tests that test cognitive knowledge. So when I did that test, I was like, hey, then why do we have people, especially in the part of the world where I am from, why do we have people who didn't achieve that success, who don't perform in a creative way, who haven't achieved the results that are expected? And an idea came in my mind that was like, the problem is not the mental abilities or their personality. The problem is creativity. It continued to click in my mind. I was like, then what can people do? So then I decided to write this book to talk to the individuals, not to the organizations, what they can do to discover their creative potential, translate it into creative ideas and objects, and turn it into success.
The evening was complete with a song from her eldest daughter, a life painting by her brother, and even a recorded reading of an excerpt of the book before the author herself took to the stage to make her remarks.
Thank you so much, MCs, Mr. Sam. I was thinking about what I should be talking about today.
Drums of Success promises to provide 10 steps to turning your creative potential into success. But what makes this book different from other books of a similar genre?
Something special about this book, in comparison to the books that we read that have been written by people from developed countries, all the anecdotes and life examples that I use in this book, they are not Bill Gates stories. These are the stories of our carpenter that we have in Yakindiro, our tailor who can turn his tailoring or her tailoring into fashion design. I use a language that can be understood by a young African, irrespective of whether you've been to school or you haven't been to school, you've been in the western part of the world or not. I speak to Africans.
Well, to all you book lovers out there and anyone looking for a new perspective, here's a book that just might be for you. Makeda Mahario, Rise and Shine Rwanda. And Happy joins us now in studio to talk a little bit more about the book. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much.
So glad to have you here on the couch.
So glad to share a couch with Makeda. That was beautiful.
Oh, no. I want to talk about this book. So tell me, you know, this thing, and I actually spoke to some people who were in attendance there, and they were saying, you know, one thing that really kind of sparked their interest about the book is that you have these 10 steps to turning your creative potential into success. So tell me, how did you manage, because it seems like you have quite a few different tips for people, how did you manage to get it into 10 simple steps for anyone to understand?
Yeah, because like I've just said with the movie you've shown, I was speaking to that young person who doesn't want it to be, you know, like theories of creativity, theories of success, or principles of success. I wanted to make it so practical. You do one, then you go to the second step, then you go to the third step. So I felt like putting it into steps makes it easier for the reader to understand what he should do or she should do to turn her creative potential into success.
So you told me when we were speaking that evening that two of the people that really inspired you was your mother and your brother. I didn't manage to put that in the video, but I'd like you to tell us about that. Your brother was there painting. In the
yeah, my brother was there painting. My mom wasn't there because she passed away a few years ago. My mother inspired me in a way because she wasn't working before. She used to be a primary school teacher, and when she had her fourth child, my father told her to stop working. I'm the sixth child, so I didn't see her working before my dad was killed during the genocide against the Tutsi. And she looked around, all she could see is two things. One, her flowers. The second thing she could see, her love for dancing, traditional dancing. She had trained all of us, you know, how to dance Kinyarwanda. And so she started a dancing troupe with some other widows of Nyamirambo, where you grew up from. And she also started a lucrative business of making flower gardens for people and growing flower plants and selling flowers to different shops here in Kigali. If you look, whenever I think about how she was, you know, working on her flower gardens and a lot of creativity that was involved in her work, I was like, this was so inspirational.
And your brother?
My brother started with dust. You know, dust that we get from, you know, like the soil. He started with dust and eye pencils that women use for their makeup.
Right.
And then he made a portrait of my father. He just took a photo and then he looked at it. He made a portrait of my father. And my mom, when she came back home, she looked and she was like, oh, this is Canisius. That was the name of my father. All of us were astonished to see that painting. And then few days after, he was selling those little portraits, you know, like on a piece of paper. And some shops here in Kigali could put those in beautiful frames. She was making a little money. But today, he's done his exhibitions in different countries, in different parts of the world, so almost all continents.
Right. It's the way that they managed to take their passions then and turn it into something that they could live off of, right?
They've actually taken all the steps that I talk about in terms of success. So I could actually follow whatever they were doing to write these steps, you know, that I talk about in terms of success.
So you were telling me that by profession you are in human resources.
Strategies, yes. I'm a human resources strategist, and I also advise people on their careers.
So is this what you would say is your passion, it's your creative potential? Is that what you put all of your heart into?
Yeah. And like I put it in the book, I was inspired by, yes, my personal journey and my personal experience with my mom and my brother. But I was also inspired by my professional experience. I've already talked about the fact that I did research on psychometric tests. and those test mental abilities and personality traits and motivation factors. But also in my career as a human resources strategist, I see how creativity is sometimes locked.
Right.
And I see so many opportunities that we do have as HR managers, as employers, to foster creativity in people.
Right, right.
A lot of us don't do that.
Have you met any people that you've worked with or anything like that who you've managed to inspire or to motivate to actually take their potential and make it into something?
Yeah, I have. I remember when I was working with this IT officer, and the guy had a lot of skills. Probably I may not talk about mental abilities because I didn't assess those, but he had a lot of skills. But I was always looked at as someone junior, and you know this hierarchy that we have in organizations. And I once told him to develop something for me. I actually had talked to the head of the unit, and the head of the unit had said, no, we don't have skills.
Right,
we don't have resource people can do it internally.
Right. So you had to kind of...
And I told him, let's do it.
Yes.
And we did it aside. Of course, that was some kind of interfering.
Right,
I don't like doing that. But when he did it, and then we celebrated, it was a natural and payroll software that he developed. And we couldn't believe that we had someone internally who can build.
And I imagine that you have a lot of people who are in that very same position that hopefully we'll get some inspiration from this book that you have for us today. All right, well, thank you so much, Happy. I'm being told we have to go on to the next segment, but thank you so much for coming today and for letting us know a little bit more about this book. Where can we find the book quickly before we have to go?
The book is available in bookstores here in Kigali, Caritas here and Ikirezi, but also in international bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Ingram.
Okay, so anywhere books are sold. Anywhere books are sold. Thank you so much, Happy, and we hope to see you here again.
Thank you so much.
All right, don't go anywhere. Hot Topics is up next. Welcome back, and it's that Hot Topics time again. As always, the Rise and Shine team have been out and about gathering everything you need to know about what's happening here and abroad, what's trending on Twitter, to the debates in your local cafe. We've got it for you right here and right now. Okay, so the first hot topic, this has been all over the news, all over Facebook and Twitter and everything. It's this man who has basically been impersonating one of our ministers here in Rwanda in order to con people, okay? So the man is called Jacques Mugumi, okay, or Jacques, I don't know how, it has that French spelling, Jacques Mugumi, and he's basically suspected of impersonating the Minister of Defense, the Honorable James Kabarebe. Okay, so this is crazy to me because apparently he's been doing this for some time. This is not the first person that he's impersonated in order to make money on social media. So basically what he was doing was posing as the minister and the minister's secretary on a different account, okay? So what he would basically do is offer cheap services and say, you know, what problems do you have? People would message him and he would say, okay, just for some small money, then we can, you know, work something out. And apparently he has raised over 791,000 Rwandan francs in just over a year.
That's just from a few people that they know. But then the scams, I think it's, you know, when the vices, when you're studying about economics, the vices of a developing city, there are more scams as an economy grows.
Kampala and Nairobi, no?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you look at the New Yorks of this world, there are more scams. But there's also been another scam. Have you seen that one on the phone, whereby they text you and say you've won 1 million?
I've heard about this.
That happens all the time.
Yeah, first sends 6,000 francs. Or
I've never seen it.
I've heard about it. I've heard it's happened to other people.
Yeah.
They are very specific with the people they target, and I think this also involves an inside job in one of these networks, and because these guys have the information of the people, so the people they really target are people in villages, people who don't choose the phone as much, people who most of the time are naive, and people end up giving them their money.
Right. No, that's madness. Nobody will be taking money from me, for sure.
Keep your money. I'm supposed to give you
Don't
first?
give anyone money
No.
if you don't know them or don't see them.
So if you see that scam anywhere, just don't follow it.
Right.
Okay, now there's another one, basically, and it's quite sad actually. There was a teenager in Kenya who ended up committing suicide because of public shaming, they call it. Basically, she was in class. Oh, this is what they say. They say that this is the reason why she committed suicide, but really nobody really knows, right? But basically she was in class, she had her phone, and the teacher took the phone and started reading out text messages out loud to the class. And they were like some romantic text messages or private text messages, basically. And so she felt so embarrassed that she ended up going, or this is a story, that she ended up going and jumping into a pit latrine and dying instantly, of course. Now, the other students in the class said that's the reason why she was so embarrassed, and she just decided to do that. But you never really know what can cause someone to commit suicide, right? So the thing is, this happens as the same thing has happened in the States, where basically a young girl was, I guess it's kind of this same-ish thing, publicly shamed for misbehaving. The father cut her hair and made a video of like a cell phone video of it, basically reprimanding her, saying, because you did that, I cut your hair, and so tell people, was it worth losing your hair, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now we know at this age teenagers are just so
sensitive.
Yeah, I mean they're going through all sorts of crazy things, and so she ended up committing suicide as well. Now, apparently he didn't mean to post it on social media or anything. It was just posted some other way, but this is the result of it. And it's really, really sad. So what I actually wanted to ask was, what do you guys think about this? Because a lot of times when parents or when teachers or someone of authority ends up shaming a child or a youngster for doing something wrong publicly, they get chairs, Yeah. A lot of times we see on Facebook someone post a photo of a, something embarrassing of a teenager who did something wrong, and then people will always also comment, and say, good for you, make sure they don't do it again, or whatever the case may be. What do you guys think? Do you think it's even something that should be on the table? Should you be embarrassing your young ones?
I don't agree with it at all. I think there are better ways to punish a kid for doing something, but publicly shaming them, especially not just in front of maybe their family or close people, but even people that they're not close to, is just taking it to a whole new level.
It's a form of bullying.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
It's a form of bullying.
It is bullying.
When you get to a point where someone, well, we don't know exactly what happened, but if that's the reason that pushed her to commit suicide, I mean, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
I was raised in a household where my mom couldn't take public shaming at all. To the extent that one day a teacher at school called my mom up to the assembly. Now it's a morning assembly, and they're like, Arnold is a mess, then you should, she should scold me in front of the teachers. And my mom was like, no, no. I think it's that age. If it had happened to me, I would have asked for a change of school.
Yeah. When you're in high school, I mean, you're still like, in high school there's status, there's all these things, and you have to maintain a good one.
And you're in a bubble. You're in a small bubble.
You're not psychologically and mentally prepared for that kind of shaming.
It's something that your friends will always remember. They'll bring it up.
Yeah, even when you're grown up, grown up, they'll still be like, oh yeah,
remember when you were 7.
Exactly.
I mean, it's terrible. Honestly, everyone, at the end of the day, everyone they reprimand their young ones the way that they're going to do it, right? But I think now we just have to really be mindful of the fact that social media is there, so it's not just in one classroom one day or whatever the case may be. Times are changing, and people are going to have to change with those times. My mom didn't publicly shame me. Shout out to my mom.
Absolutely. So one other thing we learned about is Oscar Pistorius is being released.
Yes, I know. You know what? I was going to move on to the next hot topic, and this one couldn't even wait.
Let's talk about it.
It's too much for me to understand. I mean, I understand.
So August 21st, he's going to be released.
I understand good behavior in prison. I mean, it happens all over the world. I understand being a good citizen, all those things that you do. I do not get someone accused of killing someone being released in less than a year. That's too much for me to fathom.
He was supposed to be released in 10 months, according to the South African code. But then they're going to ask for his release earlier. That's in 6 months. going by his good behavior. But
I don't think it has anything to do with good behavior.
No, it has everything to do with who he is,
Exactly.
how much money
It's
he
a
makes.
Yeah.
He is a white man in the South African legal system.
That plays a huge role. We can talk about this for 3 hours, but we gotta keep moving, unfortunately. Don't forget, we love to hear your thoughts, comments, and feedback on what we're talking about here, like the Oscar Pistorius case on Rise and Shine Rwanda. Tweet us at Rise and Shine or W. Like us on Facebook and send us ideas for programs. Check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda YouTube page where you can catch all the shows and reports we do daily. Follow us on Instagram, Rise and Shine RW. We'd love to see your pictures. Or check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda website.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, but like he said, we'd love to hear your feedback, so do let us know if you have any ideas for the program. You've been watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Makeda Mahario.
And me, Regis Isheja. We'll be back here same time, same place tomorrow, so do join us then. But for now, from the two of us and this beautiful team over here, have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.